Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Once again, a student Rabbi Shmuel coming to you with this week's Torah portion. But before we get into that, I've been a little remiss. And, a lot of you have come up to me or emailed me and said that you enjoy these little the very Torah. And thank you for that. It's very pleasurable. It's very gratifying to see that people are learning Torah a little bit, and that I have the honor of being able to convey that. But I've been real negligent in thanking the person that encouraged me to do this. This was not originally my idea. This was the idea of Sherry Reeder. Sherry, thank you very much. It was a great idea, great suggestion, and we're going to continue doing this. So, this week's Torah portion, big one, Korah. Korah was one of the Levites. He was described by Dr. Rabbi Hertz in the Sonsino edition of the Chumash as a demagogue, and that's probably the best description. This was a man who was obviously not satisfied with his lot. Okay? He was a Levite, so he was one of the people one of the tribe of Levi, who would attend to the priests, to the Kohen, which was really kind of a subclass, a clan of the Levites, the priests. The Levites were actually their helpers. They were the ones that carted around the parts of the tabernacle. One clan did the holy artifacts, like the ark and the menorah and the showbread table. Another clan of the Levites were the ones that took the curtains and the laver, the copper basin. And another clan was the one that took the wooden boards, the things that put and the hooks and the staves that kept the tabernacle together when they did put it together, when they encamped. So as a demagogue, he of course thought he should be the high priest, or why was it that Aaron got to be the high priest? So he accused Moses of nepotism, and he goes to the multitude, the Israelites, and starts stirring up trouble. So here we seem to have a succession. And the book of Numbers by Midbar in the wilderness seems to be rife with this. Okay, first we have the spies, where they're going out and exaggerating what the promised land was like because they didn't want to go in. They were afraid. So they roused up the people to being afraid. Now we have another rebellion. We have a direct rebellion by Korah, who thought that maybe he should be the high priest. So he starts stirring up the people. He says to them, first of all, to Moses. He challenges Moses. He says, okay, so the commandment is to take a blue techelet, a blue thread, and attach it to our garments. Well, what if we have a garment that's all blue? Do we still need a blue thread? And Moses is like, well, yes, you do, because, for obvious reasons. One's a cloth, one's clothes. The other one is the commandment of the tzitzit. So then he turns around and he says, well, let me tell you a little parable about a woman. All right, she had a little plot of land. All right, she starts farming it, and the first year, Moses appears, says, we need a tithe. The next year, Aaron appears. Well, then now the Levites need a tithe. Then the third year, there's another tithe for the poor. Meanwhile, she has to leave the gleanings of the field for the poor and the widowed and people who are less fortunate. So the moral of the story is here, according to Korah, here she is working her land. She's got nothing for herself. She has to give it away to everybody. So she sells the land, and then she goes and gets some sheep, and now she's got to shear the sheep. She's got to give the 10th one to the priest. So his point is that the commandments were so prohibitive that it wasn't realistic, okay? So what does Moses do? He prays to Hashem. He's like, here we go again. Now they're challenging me. What do I do? And Hashem says very simply, take your censers, which is the fire pans that burn the incense. Now, the incense service was very, very holy. It describes it, for Hashem as a satisfying aroma to Hashem. Well, of course, Hashem doesn't have a nose, he can't smell, but it's the whole idea is that you bring the frankincense and myrrh combination, the mixture, and it's a very holy scent. And in fact, it is so holy that we are not supposed to try to replicate it. These days people like incense. They have frankincense and myrrh and sandalwood, okay? And those are just plain ordinary incense, okay? But we are not allowed to use the very specific mixture that was done for the purposes of the temple service, even in a synagogue. Okay, probably the closest thing we have to that these days is Havdalah, where we have a scent. When that's part of the ceremony, to use part of the spice. It could be cloves, for example, nutmeg, something that's very nice and pleasant. So we also remember how holy it was, because remember, Nadab and Abihu, who were Aaron's two older sons, who were in line, the succession in line to becoming the high priest, they went into the tabernacle and they offered a strange fire. Okay, bad news. Bad news offering the strange fire. Okay, and because of that, they were killed. That and maybe some other things. Maybe there was a reference that they were drunk when they did it, so that was part of it as well. Okay, so Hashem commands Moses to tell Korah, and there was 250 other people that were following him. Okay, that were also rebelling, that also thought that maybe they should be in charge. And let's segue. Let's take a sidetrack for a minute. There was one guy. His name was On, and he was part of the rebellion. And his wife, as usual, just like some of the wives of some of the people who were getting involved in the golden calf that pulled them back, she says to him, okay, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Okay, you're a Levite. You're going to be serving. If Korah has his way and he becomes the high priest, you're going to be serving anyway. Okay, if he turns out not to be the right person, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get punished just like the rest of them. And thus, she kind of saved his life. And the rabbis, that's part of the Mishnah, part of the folklore, and the rabbis were able to glean that from the fact that he's mentioned up to one point and then his name doesn't come up anymore. So obviously he pulled back. He got some seichel, he got some sense thanks to his wife. Okay, again, behind every good man there's a great woman, etc., etc. So Korach and the brood start offering the fire censers. Aaron offers his censer. Aaron's is accepted. They're not. The ground opens up, swallows them whole, and that's the end of them. In the meantime, you've got another rebellion going on, Dathan and Abiram. And people may remember Dathan, Edward G. Robinson, from the movie The Ten Commandments. He was part of the rabble too. He also thought that, why is, and you kind of hear his voice, Edward G. Robinson, why is Aaron part of this? Why isn't it us? Just have that voice going through our heads, right? So they also led a rebellion. So how does that resolve? Well, finally, Moses tells Aaron. Hashem commands Aaron. Hashem commands Moshe. Moshe commands Aharon, and says, okay, everybody get a staff. Okay, and leave it overnight. Now, Aaron's staff started to bud almonds. Okay, almonds tend to grow and bud very, very quickly. The other staffs did not. And he said, you will identify the staffs because you will inscribe your name on each staff. Right. So Aaron's staff again budded. It flowered with the almonds, and that proved that Aaron was to be the high priest. All right. So that's basically what's going on in this particular portion. In a lot of other portions, you've got a lot of things going on. There was a couple of portions a while ago. We had a lot of different things. We had some of the, some of the libations. We had some of the offerings, and it just kind of skipped around. But this was just such a critical time, just such a critical situation that it's got a whole portion devoted to it. Just like last week's portion, most of it was about the spies, all right? So you would expect a lot of this. You expect that, the people are out in the wilderness. They've just been told that, you'll spend 40 years, time off for serve. So they've been there for a year, another 39 years. So this is sowing the seeds of discontent. Isn't it interesting that in our Torah, unlike maybe some other philosophies or some other religions, our prophets, our great people, our judges, okay, our kings, they're human beings. They're fallible. They make mistakes. Right? So it's up to us to learn from their mistakes. It's not just enough to have positive commandments and negative commandments, but we see this. Right? We see how these people were discontented. They saw all the miracles. They saw Moses performing the miracles, being up on the mountain. He'd hold his hands up when they were fighting some of the tribes. He'd hold his hands up, they'd be successful. They'd put his hands down, they were starting to get defeated, so he had to have Joshua and Aaron on either side holding up his arms so that the Israelites would be successful. They saw all this. They saw Moses come down from Mount Sinai with the Ten Commandments, and yet they still doubted, yet they still challenged. So we have to look at reality sometimes. We have to see what's going on. You can't just assume. You can't just spin the truth and expect it. You need to look at reality. So with that, Shabbat Shalom. Hope you have had a great week. Hope you have a great weekend of rest. And we will see you in a week. Thanks again.